Welcome to another Taco Tuesday. It's Pastor Jake, and it is the 9th of March. It's a big day today. As you saw, I'm at two different taquerias today. I came to try Tacos y Mas, which was incredibly rude, and set up shop 3 stores away from what has been my favorite taqueria for years, Taqueria la Esperanza. Here, both of these are in 407, down toward 35, and it's on the corner of McGee, in that shopping plaza where Landmark Grill is. At any rate, we're trying them both. We got a regular taco showdown today. Here they are. First of all, packaging is exactly the same, but I'm telling you straight away, I'm giving the edge to my folks at Taqueria la Esperanza, and here's why. We've got a drier, normally like colored pastor going on here, whereas over here from Tacos y Mas, we've got that red thing going on. And also I got their green and their red salsa, and that green salsa just looks really gross. I don't know what else to say about it except for that it's very watery and sort of chunky looking, and the green salsa, the verde at Taqueria la Esperanza is always delicious. So, and also the tacos like themselves are different. So we're double tacoed over here, like tortilla'd over here, with a rougher looking corn, and this is a softer corn tortilla from Taqueria la Esperanza. So I am going to get down to business here. Cheers. We'll see you in a minute. Tastes like home. Well, that was an experience. First off, again, how dare Taco y Mas come in just a couple doors down from Taqueria la Esperanza. This is why they did it, guaranteed. It's a chain in Dallas, and I think I saw a sign on the wall that they have like 6 different locations. So they had money to do it, and apparently they didn't do enough research on the competition, because Taqueria la Esperanza's tacos are just way better. More on that in a second. But here's the deal. Taqueria la Esperanza is very much like a hole-in-the-wall kind of place. The menu is not nice. The seating area is small and isn't particularly nice. There's really not much nice about it except the guy who runs it and the food, which is why I keep going back. Tacos y Mas, on the other hand, is like very white people friendly, and I guess maybe if Taqueria la Esperanza goes out of business because of them, I'm gonna be infuriated. But I think they're doing fine. If I'm honest, most of the time I'm the only white person in Taqueria la Esperanza, so he seems to be doing okay. But go there. The tacos are just better. First of all, it was that red kind of weird, not pastor at all deal from Tacos y Mas. The tortillas were okay. The green salsa was like just hot, like it didn't have much of a flavor. The red salsa tasted like a spicy vodka sauce. Like I wanted to put it on spaghetti. But it was very strange on the taco that I had. And this is a deal. Taqueria la Esperanza's pastor taco is not the best, like not even close to the best pastor taco out there. I think I'm ready to crown Ale Tacos the winner of pastor tacos in this area. I'm not sure that anybody can hang with them. I've had it twice now. Both of those experiences were really good. But here's the deal with Taqueria la Esperanza. It still tastes good. It's not wet like a lot of these places have their pastor. It's dry, it's griddled, it's a little crispy, it's chewy. The flavor profile is like, I don't know if I've just eaten it so much that it feels just like comforting to me, but it's got like he's like throwing your attention over to the Middle East a little bit with the flavor of it, which, you know, again, Lebanese immigrants to Mexico is where we got, it's in the style of shawarma, like with on the pit, like that's where we got this food, or the al pastor taco. So I don't know, it's just good. It's good. It's not the best, but like it's still a good product. And also clearly I have a lot emotionally invested in the place. Also not mad about the fact that I can get to at least 3 places that sell street tacos specifically in like 4 minutes from my house. So that's all right. But here's the deal. This is what I wanted to talk about. Is in part why I decided on a competition today, was because we're working through this series on reconciliation. And I read an article this morning about when I've got this, you know, this reconciliation series playing in the back of my head, and I've also got sort of this larger conversation about how it is that we are reconciled to God and not just to each other. Like, how does that happen in Jesus? Is that love-based or justice-based? And I've been making the argument recently how Jesus's death and resurrection doesn't have a whole lot to do with the requirement of God that somebody pay for those sins that have been committed, but is itself really an expression, like that Jesus was always going to come. This was always going to be an expression of God's desire to be near to us, and that Jesus's death, specifically the way that it happened, was itself an indictment on human evil, right? That God didn't have to play with behind the scenes to set up this scenario in which Jesus would come and die and take on his judgment and wrath, but like that Jesus's sacrificial death, his own giving of his life for us and to us, and our taking it so violently, was itself a condemnation of our sin. That God didn't need to do that artificially, but we created the environment in which that could happen by our own will and pride. And so I've got this sort of larger, what does it mean to have a view of God's reconciling work in us be more about sorry, I got the burps again. I told you guys, I told our Wednesday group, like, somebody needs to tell me to stop ordering Topo Chico when I go out for tacos on Tuesday, because it makes me burpy. Anyway, so how can we talk about this reconciliation and restoration and justice all in from a basis of love, meaning that we're not going to talk about retributive justice, right? Tit for tat. You did this thing wrong, therefore I get this, and, you know, only after you've been knocked down a peg can our relationship be restored. That's retributive, and it doesn't work, right? I mean, we see people line up to watch people that have harmed their families through murder or some other sort of violent act that got them the death sentence, and people watch as people are murdered by the state, and I guarantee you that after they see that, they don't feel any better. It doesn't make anybody feel better. It's not really justice to take the eye for an eye and the tooth for a tooth, or a life for a life. We've been fed that line for a long time, and it has left us with an empty soul, because we thought that this thing was going to fix us, and it simply hasn't. And so if we've refused then to see Jesus in that way, and see what Jesus is doing in more a model of restorative justice, or loving us back to life after the harms that we've committed, how does that change then how we see the rest of the world? And how does that change how we engage in conflict with one another? I read an article this morning, like I said, about how, Democrats and Republicans, when they think about one another, hate each other more than they love their own party. And more than that, when they say they hate Democrats or Republicans, whichever one you aren't, they generally have in mind a characterization of the other person that they're talking about that isn't accurate for most people. They're talking about the outliers. And it got me thinking about, how far afield or how far away restoration looks, reconciliation looks for these political divides in our country. And what I think the step toward reconciliation and restoration looks like is to stop with the characterizations, right? To engage in honest conversation with a bit of humility, or a lot of humility, actually. And oddly enough, the scripture that came to my head with this, it was about hate itself, because Jesus he says in Luke that if you don't hate your father, mother, sister, brother, that you cannot be his disciple. But it's in this string of scriptures and sayings of Jesus where he's talking about humility and getting low and counting the cost and carrying your cross and all of these things. And all of them are like a shedding off of the thing that I thought that I knew, and my right to be right, and puts us in this humiliating space, which is good. It's a humbling space. All of us need that. But I don't think we live as though we need that. And I don't think we talk to one another as though we are in a place of humility. It seems to me like most of the time when we enter these fights and when we have these arguments, mostly in our head or in the echo chamber that Facebook is becoming and has become in a lot of ways, we're mostly considering winning a fight because our audience is just like out there, and it becomes either an audience of one in here or something public out there. And I'm not sure how we can get to anything but sort of a retributive, I'm right, you're wrong, in those sorts of settings. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. But I think we forget when we get into those modes that the point isn't retribution. The point isn't to win over somebody. We are in this thing that is life together. We are all being gathered back in to Christ, right? Like this is our common calling to be unified in love and in grace in this world. And so I can't want to win over you. I can only hope for both of our healings together. I can only hope to understand where you are broken so that I can understand where I am broken so that we can be healed together. It's hard. It's hard, and it's not the way we live most of the time. But in our humility, every time there is this scripture or a saying of Jesus about humility, there's always this promise and this hope that undergirds it all, that God is going to lift us up. That when the Son of Man returns, right, everything will be made equal. So the low will be lifted. The high and the mighty have to come down, but only to meet with the poor on this equal playing ground where we are all properly humiliated and lifted up. That seems a lot more like love to me than winning an argument. And if God is love and we are people after God's own name, called for his purposes, to be agents of reconciliation in this world, then it seems like that is the path and the task before us. Thanks be to God, and Goodness gracious, help us. See you next time.